TED Talks really suck now.
I am a thought leader. You know that I'm a thought leader because I'm wearing a blazer, I have glasses, and I've just done this with my hands.
Y de repente se muere su madre.
In the early 2010s, TED Talks were highly regarded around the world for giving the public never-before-seen access to the world's brightest minds.
I just couldn't put my finger.
Huge bust, huge bust, huge bust, huge bust. You keep going.
But somewhere along the way, something changed. Today, the conference has a reputation for being little more than a place for people to roleplay as tech visionaries.
What is a birthday? I think it can best be understood by breaking down the word birth and day.
Whether it's due to overall poor quality control or the insane rumors about the way they treat speakers they don't agree with.
Eddie Huang came in here, and Eddie Huang told his gross story that makes you just go, ew, Ted.
These talks have
90% of the time it's just like how you compose yourself or how you use your hands. It's not even that much about what you're actually saying half the time.
Undeniably gone from thought-provoking to provoking thoughts no one asked for.
One thing I am certain of is that no one ever heard me at work. I made sure of it.
You guys will not be able to believe, your eyes. Watch the success stories my lab has had.
The TED conference actually goes back to 1984, when a man named Richard Saul Wurman wanted to bring together leading thinkers from different fields to share ideas worth spreading. It's initially aimed at people working in the newly established Silicon Valley, where companies like Apple, Atari, and LucasArts are more interested in the big ideas behind technology, rather than the computer parts themselves. So TED was created as a place where they can share these ideas about the emerging fields of technology, entertainment, and design. All in all, this first event serves as a good proof of concept.
Digital audio is becoming something that is more well known. I'm not sure how many of you have actually had a chance to hear it.
I remember there was a TED Talk that was done, and it was like some kid that they brought in last minute, and they had prototyped our modern touchscreens for our phones and how revolutionarily awesome it was, to the point that it was almost like you could hear people's checkbooks open at the end of his presentation.
It had almost 700 ICs in it. So you could...
By 1990, when Silicon Valley is the tech hub of the world, TED is pretty much their official annual conference, with a small but devout community of TEDsters who bring in revolutionary ideas from all sorts of fields.
We make computers.
The best weapon we have to explore this new world is the one between our ears, providing it's loaded. What is the collective noun that confuse people?
What'd you think?
And this conference was good for me. Was it good for you?
This has been Richard's dream all along.
There was 150 women and 411 men, 50 people with PhDs. There are 24 people from 9 countries.
And with his vision now fully realized, he's tired. This is when devout TEDster Chris Anderson comes to the rescue.
And I think you have a right to know
that I paid $14 million for this.
Fortunately, he's just the guy for the job, because Chris knows what TED means to people.
No selling, no corporate bullshit, no bandwagoning, no platforms. Just the pursuit of interest wherever it lies. That's not going to be changed at all.
Oh, if he only knew.
Yes.
In 2006, after seeing
I wonder if there's going to be a definition between the TED Talks and the TEDx stuff, because TEDx is where a lot of stuff really fell off the rails.
The potential of online media sharing, Chris introduces TED.com, opening the gates of this exclusive conference to the world. However, while this might appear to be a great thing for you and me, many of the OG TEDsters would argue that removing exclusivity might end up making it worse for everyone, as the event becomes less about ideas worth spreading and more about just ideas. They post their first talks from the 2006 conference. Needless to say, people are stunned.
At some point during the next 4 days, your brain might explode. By then, you won't even care. It's time for TED.
But things were just getting started. Public figures begin to see TED in a whole new light, not just for exchanging ideas, but also coming across to consumers as more human. Like, yeah, I know that's literally Ghislaine Maxwell, but guys, she saw a plastic hanger in the ocean, and now she cares about the ocean.
I was devastated. I was angry, and I understood immediately that the ocean was in trouble.
No, I think she... Yeah, the human trafficking, that's fine, but a hanger in the ocean, that's a big deal.
I was just scared for her part of the ocean, if you know what I'm saying. Because she's a pet. The speaker lineup in 2007 brings TED to a whole new level. Larry Page and Sergey Brin, the founders of Google, the founder and CEO of Amazon, Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin Airlines, Bill Clinton, who won the prestigious TED Prize.
You're looking at a woman who was publicly silent.
With more partners and fewer terrorists, with more productive citizens. And
they even got director J.J. Abrams.
When I talked to the kind rep from TED, and I said, listen, what should I talk about? He said, don't worry about it, just be profound.
Anyway, the list goes on. In the following years, that list gets even longer. However, despite the quality of their speakers and ideas, the online viewers simply weren't satisfied. They wanted more, to which Chris politely responds, why don't you make your own? Introducing TEDx. The idea is simple. Give everyone the ability to host their own TED Talk. Genius, right? But can't I just get a stage and get a bunch of speakers and do the same thing? No! Are you f***ing kidding me? You really think people are gonna listen to some guy standing on a stage with no red letters behind him? Of course not, but that's okay. Just pay us and we'll send you your own. It'll have a little watermark indicating that you're nothing. But trust me, no one's gonna notice. For a little while, these TEDx talks were pretty good. But very soon, things took a turn for the worse. And the biggest red flag...
Yeah, that's because everybody started to realize it's TEDx. And then once people start looking into the difference between TED and TEDx, they immediately realize, oh, maybe I could throw one. And the more people that realize that, the worse it gets. There's no more quality control.
Flag was right there from the start.
The surprising thing about today's meeting is that we here at TED have had almost nothing to do with it.
Now a huge chunk of TED's brand is something they admit they have nothing to do with. It was obvious the floodgates had opened. The barrier to entry wasn't just lowered, it was obliterated. Even though they added the X, most people see them as one and the same. TEDx ruined TED's public perception. For the longest time, I didn't know the difference. I suspect a lot of people are the same. People start asking questions, like what ideas could a 5-year-old possibly have that are worth spreading?
Talking about why kids should have an hour-long recess.
And I said, Mr. Grenier, I really want to play Scherzo Tarantella by Wieniawski. And he just went, you are not capable of that. And I was angry, but I was determined because I had played this piece before.
Yeah, if your teacher says you're not ready for something, it's most likely because you are not. Sounds like she put too much rosin on her bow. Look at her wrist. It's so tight.
TED has become a brand machine, turning...
Yeah, look, I don't even know a damn thing about violins, but even that didn't sound right to my ears.
Complex ideas into 18-minute viral sellable chunks. Perfect for consultants looking to beef up their credentials. Remember when Chris said this?
No selling, no corporate bullshit.
Famous last words.
This is the My Roast.
Yeah, basically anybody on LinkedIn can have their own little TEDx talk and try and promote it to get their next job.
It is a 2-kilo roaster, also comes in a 5-kilo model, made entirely of stainless steel.
No selling, no corporate bullshit.
No more need for any kind of school, certifications, or proof of any kind that you've mastered your craft to earn credibility. All you need is an uplifting and engaging story, then you can sit back and let the big red letters do the rest. Many people who seek to wield the power of the letters are relatively harmless, using them for nothing more than to roleplay as Silicon Valley visionaries. but some for much more selfish reasons, or even downright evil ones. At the 2014 TED Med, or Medical Conference, a lady named Elizabeth Holmes takes the stage to speak about her revolutionary new device that she claims has the potential to disrupt the evil medical industry, an industry that makes billions of dollars a year off people's suffering. Well, not anymore.
The health and well-being of every person, of those we love, is a basic human right.
Is your left foot itching?
I feel like everything about her persona was so crafted that it drives me a little nuts that she's like hanging out there with a button not done and it doesn't look like it's supposed to not be done. Like that had to have been intentional, which meant somebody was just like, hey, if you look slightly more disheveled, you'll probably look more smart because you're so busy thinking about stuff. But she also like dropped her voice by an octave and tried to talk lower and wear the turtlenecks because it's more like Steve Jobs and all the terrible, everything about her was just BS to try and sell off her company.
Human right.
Is your left foot itching and you're worrying you might have scabies? Have you swallowed a battery and wondering how long until you turn into Mr. Electric? Well, in this talk, Elizabeth basically promises that with one prick of the finger, this device can determine that. I gotta say, I'm sold. Uh-oh.
In November, a judge sentenced her to more than 11 years in prison after she raised many millions of dollars from investors by making false claims about her company.
Turns out all of it was a lie, and even with actual scientists calling it out from the very start, this lie was still somehow able to make it all the way to store shelves. Patients were misdiagnosed with everything from diabetes to cancer. She was able to trick people out of millions of dollars and make it onto the cover of Forbes by tricking people into thinking she knew what she was talking about. That is the power behind the red letters. TED knows it. They also know that now the people.
It's also crazy to me that it got FDA approval for something like that. That's the more troubling part to me.
People do too.
2009, I met a thought leader and I asked him, how did you become a thought leader? And you know what he said? He said, I don't know. Now that doesn't sound important, and it's not.
I see TED Talks mentioned more often again. However, in a rather negative way, like, well, after he's done spending all that Kickstarter money and running the company into the ground, he can always go write a book about it and hold a lame TED Talk to promote it.
I lost my job because I used my corporate card on my gambling accounts.
Things got to the point where people started to criticize TED on their own platform. Some would go up and make the speech topic problems they have with TED, and others would do talks about nothing at all just to prove how easy it was to get a talk.
Can I have this water here? Give me like 25 seconds here. Give me like 10 more seconds.
After this wave of hate, things got a little more serious, with some referring to it as a cult. There's talks online about an early Joe Rogan episode featuring Eddie Huang, who was kicked out for not following their cult-like orders. However, this video and all traces of the episode are taken down. But this isn't all too uncharacteristic of them, as they've been known to do their fair share of banning of.
Yeah, there was probably like a huge lawsuit that they tried to make against the Joe Rogan Experience, and then they're like, oh, we don't want to deal with this legal trouble, so let's just take the episode down rather than fight all this. Which, you know, you can't blame them for wanting to not deal with that sort of legal battles.
Speakers whose ideas they deemed not worthy of spreading. But the ones they didn't allow seemed pretty tame to me. They banned Nick Hanauer's talk named Rich People Don't Create Jobs. The talk was deemed too political and never put online. In 2013, Rupert Sheldrake was banned for giving a talk called.
I mean, that's kind of true. The whole like trickle-down economics thing was kind of proved to not work. And I think that's probably what he was getting at.
Exposing scientific dogmas. And after removing the video, TED released a brief statement about their reasoning behind the ban. We feel a responsibility not to provide a platform for talks which appear to have crossed the line into pseudoscience. I'll just let that sink in. Let me just remind you all that aside from the little Theranos slip up. These are the same people who let this lady talk about why superhero posing in the bathroom is scientifically proven to better your health.
The people who can use it the most are the ones with no resources and no technology and no status and no power. Give it to them because they can do it in private. They need their bodies, privacy, and 2 minutes. And it can significantly change the outcomes of their life.
This was later proven to be false by another scientific study which showed it's 100% proven to make you look like a fucking idiot. Anyway, pretty recently, TED did something that seems to be an acknowledgement of their past mistakes, showing that they agree the conference has strayed far from its original mission. Earlier this year, they decided to change they're not changing anything.
Things that we're kind of evolving.
They are evolving their tagline. This is third evolution. This is Raichu. From ideas worth spreading to ideas change everything. What does that even mean?
One of the things that we're kind of evolving is our tagline and our mission statement. From ideas worth spreading to ideas change everything.
That doesn't fix anything. That's so pointless. That's so pointless. Why? Like, they did absolutely nothing to fix anything at all. TED used to be a place where you'd get like really cool ideas, but I think they're like, hey, there's money to be made. Let's sell off the idea of TEDx and try and not let it harm our brand by putting that X there. And then people got a little too confused about the X and just started hurting their brand. And so now they're like, well, oops, we screwed up. Too late now.